Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. This is supposed to be a turnaround Tuesday, but there's apparently no turnaround in your grade markets right now. Been a while since it's been live here, but we're doing this. It's happening, and I'm excited. So, welcome to this EmpowerAg Trading Turnaround Tuesday. Exciting new chapter for us here. Got brokerage market advisory services with EmpowerAg Trading. Got insurance products with EmpowerAg Insure. Tools and strategy with the end goal in mind, I guess, to empower your operations. So I'm not going to oversell it or overpromise it, but just get out here and talk to you about what's going on in your markets. I got a surprise for you today, and it's pretty cool, pretty exciting. So with that, I guess if you like what's going on here, if you like what's happening, subscribe, like, retweet, share, help us grow it. And with that, I'm going to bring them in. So who is it? Connor B, welcome to the show, man. How are you, Connor B?
I'm doing good. Hey, longtime listener, glad to be on. Happy to be here. But like you
It's
said, not really a turnaround Tuesday like we talked about.
not a turnaround at all. This is one of those days you bury your head and go find something else to do.
Yeah,
So, but
yeah.
we had a little rain overnight here in Dodge City, Kansas. That was more than welcome. You know, as you're well aware, we've been drought stricken out here and desperate need with wildfires, all sorts of stuff. But had some nice rain come through last night with some wind, but we'll take it. And kind of kept raining here this morning. So yeah.
Awesome.
How's the weather in the Corn Belt? Let's talk about weather in your backyard.
Yeah, Central Illinois. We've been a little bit dry. I know any guys that had replant, or maybe if you had that little bit of planting, I'd imagine they were able to get it in. And now we've got a little bit dry forecast, but I look at the extended forecast and there's plenty of rain coming. So far, to me, crops off to a good start. I don't want to say a great start, but it looks pretty good if that extended forecast comes through and we get the rain. There's no cause for concern. I know I mentioned that we're a little bit dry, but we're far away from it being concerning, in my opinion, Brady.
Right. Okay. Good to know. Yeah. Here's a look at the last 30 days percent normal precip, and a lot of kind of yellowish oranges on the map there, some pockets of blues. So there's pockets that have been a little wetter than normal the last 30 days, but a lot of the Corn Belt looks like had a wide open window to get the crop in there.
Yep.
Had some crop condition. Where are you at on this map, Connor?
If you go to St. Louis, go about northeast where you can see I'm right on that line of where it's been a little bit wet. I'm just a little bit north of there, but
Okay.
right in that area.
Gotcha.
But yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm hearing from clients. I mean, Northern Illinois, Iowa, it's been a little bit dry. Again, I don't think anyone's banging the drum of a drought quite yet. And again, the forecast looks okay, but time will tell.
Right. Yeah. Looks like a 7-day has some favorable precip for a lot of the Corn Belt area. So we look at that, and then you talk El Nino type weather and changing. I guess this graphic, high percentage of transition into El Nino or a super strong El Nino, whatever term we're using. But to me, I look at this graphic, Connor, and I see change ahead from neutral conditions to weather. It's always going to change, and we'll have something different as we approach the rest of the summer and into the fall.
Right. Yeah, that super El Nino is a term that's being thrown out by the trade, isn't it?
I like it. Yeah. Can't just be a regular El Nino. Got to be a super El Nino. So I
Which
can't wait till we
keep
get
it-
to the super duper El Nino, which I think is a phase 2.
I was gonna say, so I'm a simple guy, but when I hear El Nino, I think wet corn belt, right? So super El Nino means we should have plenty of precip. Time will tell.
Yep. So nice wide open window to get the crop in, and then bring on the rains. That's what we're all about here. So you got a graphic here that you shared with me. We had crop progress yesterday, right? Well, we talk about this a little bit.
Yeah. So we got our, believe it's our second week of looking at crop conditions. Is that right? And it was a little bit on the lower end for corn, soybeans, but far away from it being any type of concern, in my opinion. Number one, if we're looking at planning progress, I think the trade moved on from planning progress about 2 weeks ago when we were right at that 5-year average and we had over 80% of the crop planted. Well, we continue to be that. We're almost, corn is 93% planted. We're above the 5-year average. Soybeans, we're well above, the whole growing season, we've been above that 5-year average on soybeans. And so now looking at conditions, a little bit below the trade average on both, but far from anywhere we could be a concern. When I see good to excellent ratings of 67% on corn, 66% on soybeans, you know how much that concerns me? Zero, right? We're good. It's off to a decent start, and we're just, dang near at the middle top end of the 20-year range of where we see good to excellent conditions.
Right. Yep. No problem so far. I agree with that too. So whether it's disappointing or not, if the trade was looking for a 70 and it came in at 67, to me, 2-3 points here at this stage of the game isn't that much of a game changer as we go forward. The wheat conditions there, 26% good to excellent. I think that's unchanged versus last week. Looks like the trade was, according to this graphic, Karen Braun with EmpowerAg Hedge looking for the 27. So maybe a slight uptick is what the trade was looking for, but nothing really there. I think when you look at the poor, very poor on winter wheat conditions, it came in unchanged as well, but still a really, really high 44% rated poor to very poor on your winter wheat conditions. And a lot of it past any point of getting some benefits from any of this moisture that we've had coming through. I'm sure it'll benefit some and help with any crop that has, test weights and some of that stuff as we wrap up the yield. But got some combines going out here this week too, Connor. So if the combine's running, the rain ain't helping the yield much at that point. You had this other graphic, which puts it into perspective too. Another one from Karen. She always does good graphics. I really like her stuff. Corn conditions, just where they're at relative to history.
And part of me said, if the bulls in the room could look at this and saying, oh, we're off to a below average or average start. Okay, that's fine. We could look at that. But when we look at corn conditions, right, they're not the be all end all. The trade isn't going to be, okay, corn conditions down 5% where we thought it's time to buy December corn. It's not going to be in that situation. The biggest crop we ever had by far was last year, and we're just right in the line of where we started at last year. So, for me, it's unconcerning. We got a whole lot of growing season left to go is when I look at this. What are your thoughts?
Right. And here's a live shot of corn in Connor's backyard right now, I believe, right? Is that accurate? Probably not quite, but maybe by the time we get to July timeframe, it could be looking like that.
So. I was talking to an agronomist, and he was telling me, number one, make sure everyone knows that I am not an agronomist. Let's take that into effect. But just that, the start we got planting, a little bit of a dry period with some rain a week from now. This corn's going to shoot up. I don't think it's bad for the plant at all. That's where I'm really coming from, where I'm saying that, yes, we've been a little bit dry, but that rain in the forecast coming, I think we're off to a good start in Central Illinois.
Yeah, good point. Yep. It's been a while since I've been an agronomist. That was my first gig out of school, was working. I did 4 years for a company called CropQuest. Great learning experience, great opportunity for me to understand the production side of things. And dry, you got to have some moisture for it to germinate and sprout, but the dry condition can actually help that plant root down and develop a nice strong root system. And now let's bring on some rain and get that crop growing so it'll take off and jump. You mentioned last year's record crop, and I had a graphic in there, and it leads me to a question of the day I guess I have for anybody watching this is U.S. corn production, is it going to be moving higher or lower from our initial USDA estimate? Remember that 17 billion bushel crop that we supposedly raised last year, record crop, record yield, and we're starting off at 183 bushel per acre yield number and 95 million acres. It puts us right around a 16 billion bushel crop estimated here. So I'm curious, anybody watching, listening, is that the high bar or is that the low bar? Does it get better from there or does it get worse? I don't know. You look at this graphic, Connor, to me, and That's still a big, healthy, strong, optimistic start looking at a 16 billion bushel crop this year.
It really is. I remember if you go before last year, if we started talking about 94 million acres of corn, that was a huge number. It was a big number. That meant we had a lot of corn acres. We're starting out at 95, right? These past couple of years have just been um, huge numbers for corn. Also, before again, take out last year, where we went well above the trend line yield. Before that, I believe it was back to 2018 before we actually hit trend line, right? The story was we started off with a trend line yield and then trimmed it as we went along. Is that going to be the case? I don't know. The corn acre story, we're going to have that conversation at the end of this month about where the USDA is going to come in. And that's going to be a big one, right? Did we plant 95 million acres of corn?
Yep. Yield's a component, acreage still a component, and those numbers are going to be moving here as we get deeper into the season, get more data, get more information, and they can change, I guess, forever, right? Until January, we can adjust these numbers and debate them. So that's where we start though today.
Maybe we should thank the USDA that you and I have something to talk about, because my gosh, looking back at last year, how many times did they every other report they found more corn acres? But let's not talk about the past.
Right. Yeah. So, but with the past, we do have seasonals, and that's something on the front of everybody's mind right now. And you had this good graphic here showing the December corn seasonal index. Let's talk about this for a minute.
Yeah, I think when we get in this time period, meaning the month of May and the month of June, maybe a little bit into April, a little bit into July, right? That seasonal time frame is so important for marketing corn and soybeans, especially corn. And so when we look at the seasonal index, right, what's it tell you is that history says we're very much coming up on a cliff. And so I think anyone watching, anyone that I talk to, I'm going to be mentioning seasonals right now at this time period, right? Because what's the formula is we have a fund position that might be a little bit long going into the planning window, right? If we get any weather issues, they're going to add to that length. But then when they're comfortable that we're going to have a crop, they're going to bail. We're going to put the lows sometime in August, September, right? That's the playbook for a normal year. And I know no year's ever normal. Every year's different. Last year definitely was. But I think we need to be cognizant of what the seasonals are telling us if we're looking at, reducing some risk on your new crop corn marketing.
Yep, I think so too, Connor. I think that's a good point. Yeah, where do I want to go here now? I want to throw in this
yes,
managed money.
Oh my gosh, it's like we used to work together. We're just reading each other's minds.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I was going to talk about. Managed money and fund positioning, I think, is a big one. Go ahead.
Yeah. Definitely moving this market, and they've come in a big way, kind of this spring from a short position at the beginning of the year on your corn, managed money flow, building that nice long position, and definitely seen some exodus the last week and driving that price down. So what are your thoughts here, Connor?
Yeah, we saw last week COT saw significant reducing of length in corn, soybeans. Soy oil is the big one too. But we still have a long fund position. There's still room to be sellers. And I think along those lines, another thing I'm watching is just when we're looking at new crop corn, we are flirting with that 200-day average, right? In the 467, 468 window. If we see something where the weather looks good, we see a nice forecast, we see some type of negative technical close, I'm afraid it could get a little ugly. Today could be an important day just looking at the markets.
I think so. Here's a little snapshot of the Dees corn chart as we pull that up. And as Connor said here, testing that 200-day moving average, that's the red line right there. So that 469.70 area, important level to be paying attention to and holding here. Yeah, it's hard to believe back the first of the year, January 14th, Dees corn was trading 445, Connor. That's 22 cents lower than we are right now. So
what else is interesting looking at that is we're now with this close, we're lower than where we were before we started the conflict in Iran. Right? We've officially moved that up. Don't look at crude oil. Crude oil is still hanging out above $90, but we won't talk about that.
Yeah, those two markets, crude kind of got us here, right? It was a big proponent for funds coming into this market and lifting these prices and seeing the bean oil market rally and energy markets rally and grains rallied as a whole. And but I think you said before the show that those two markets have kind of separated a little bit here.
Yeah, very much a divergence. And maybe when we look at corn fundamentals, we're going to be, give a good weather forecast, we're going to be fine. Where crude oil obviously has some disruption, so maybe it makes sense. But I know in the business that we're in, when I see a big crude oil rally, right, I wanted to see corn follow, and it's definitely not the case this week.
Right. Bulls need fed. They need fed every day. And right now, it seems like the weather story, the war premium risk, the weather risk is coming out of this market, and funds have been exiting here. And they got a long position that they can unwind. And if they want to go short, it's depressing to talk about. It's not what I want to talk about on a turnaround Tuesday. I'd shut this off and quit watching right now if the guy was talking about lower prices. But it is the reality of it, and it can get worse before it gets better. But I don't know. I'm optimistic, Connor, that we'll get some sort of weather warmth event, heat in July that adds a bid to this market. But it's just a matter of where. You and I can sit here and say, "Hey, it's going to rally," but is it going to rally from 467 where we're at today? Or are we going to get a 20-cent rally, or is it going to go down to 445 and then hit the 20-cent rally and be right back to where we are today? That's not really a "see, I told you so" moment. If we sell off another 20 cents and rally 20, the rally will come. It's just a matter of when and from where.
Absolutely. And the same thing, we talked about weather. The next card, bullish or bearish, is going to be, I feel like we have a lot of unknowns in terms of corn soybean acreage, right? 3 months ago, the story was we're not going to see the corn acres because of input costs. We planted 98 million acres of corn last year. The USDA told us initially, when we saw a pullback, we're not going to plant 98. We're not going to plant 98 million acres, right? The last time we saw a number like that, I think it was the Great Depression. But we've still got a big number at 95. And so, can we see more? Are they going to say that the U.S. farmer planted more soybean acres and get a corn acre number that's maybe in the, I don't know, what do you want to say, 92, 93 range, right?
True.
Time will tell. I do want to point out that when this crop was going in the ground, we were in the $4.90 to $5 range. I don't know if that's indicative of less corn acres, but we're going to know a whole lot more at the end of June.
Yep. Yeah, those are good points. That acreage number moves. It can change that balance sheet pretty quick. You throw the acreage and the yield number. Yep. And remember, $5 corn was on the board when we were putting it in the ground. So did that entice more acreage to go in? I don't know. I think I get lots of mixed opinions as to what happened. I think reaching back to some of those agronomy days, a lot of guys like sticking with their rotations, and you go chase a price that can sometimes backfire, and you pay for that in years to come. But there's fringe acres, and the fringe acres carried our production last year, and those are the acres that could come and go and look for other crops. But did those other crops buy the acres away? I don't know. The other thing, as you were talking about things that could change this market, we've built a solid demand machine too, Connor.
Mm-hmm.
And how inelastic is that demand, and will that if we shrink this crop up a little bit, does the market start to react because we've got strong exports, strong ethanol use, and great domestic demand?
And if we're looking at the corn market, right, we had the ag deal with China.
Mm-hmm.
If we see that follow through, where we see China, they've agreed to the U.S. soybean purchases. They did a good job following through with that this year. We have not seen China buy corn for 23 was the last time, I think.
Yeah, been a minute.
3 years. That could be the big one too, is that if we see China, come to the table, whether it's just to for trade relations reasons or because the demand is there, that in terms of U.S. corn demand, if we see China come to the table, that's going to be a big bullish one. Now, seasonally, if when China's bought corn, it's usually not. It's not when Brazil's harvesting their safrinha crop. Anything could happen, but
Right.
it's usually not this summer. Usually, it's going to be I go back to 2020. They started buying corn August, September, into fall before we could see that. But that's to your demand point. That's another big one that the framework's there. Now, can we see the follow through?
Yep. Framework's there. Can we see the follow through? I like it. So, well, we'll be doing some of these more often. I'm not exactly sure on our schedule yet, but we look forward to it. It's great to do this with you again, Connor B. And sure missed hanging out with you and doing this with you. We did it for a long time, and looking forward to doing it some more with you too.
Me
So,
too. It was good catching up.
yep. Well, we'll keep you posted. And with that, I think we'll roll on out of here and let you guys get back to your Tuesday. Holler at Connor B's with agmarket.net if you need anything. And stay tuned. We'll see y'all.